And now for a brief history of slavery. Here's the first thing you need to know. Slavery was not invented by white people. It did not start in 1619 when the first slaves came to Jamestown. It existed before then. It did not start in 1492 when Columbus discovered the New World. Slavery existed in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. The word slave actually comes from the Slavs of Eastern Europe. Millions of them, all white, by the way.
Prager University talks about slavery, so of course they have to get a black person to regurgitate this white supremacist talking point. This talking point is one I've seen a lot. For some reason, they need to make it known that every group at some point in history was enslaved. Now, why would that be so important to mention? I mean, I hear it all the time. Well, the reason why this talking point is so important to bring up in every single discussion about slavery is because it takes the onus off of the brutality that was chattel slavery that helped build the wealth in this country. And there are certain people out there that don't want to fully deal with that fact. The black people in this country whose ancestors were enslaved through a system of white supremacy and the legacy of that white supremacy that still exists today have a real grievance against the government that permitted it. But if you're able to convince people that slavery was really not that big of a deal, in fact, everyone has gone through it at some point, you kind of take the sting away. Make sense? Good. So this is why the first point in The Things You Need to Know About Slavery by Prager University, brought to you by a black person, was that white people didn't invent slavery. This one seems like it comes out of left field, but if you think about it along the lines I just described, then it makes more sense. Now I've laid the groundwork, let's explore the actual facts. White people didn't create slavery. However, white people did create the racial hierarchy. The racial hierarchy had humans separated by races. The races were based on skin color. Then they created, they being the white people, the race-based chattel slavery that was prevalent here in the US. So there's that. Chattel slavery, for those that don't know, is when people are owned as property. They have no rights, no legal status, and are considered nothing more than the property of their owners, just like livestock. Then, white people created a system of white supremacy based off the racial hierarchy that they made up. In that system, black people, or now the black race, were considered inferior. There were laws in that system that supported this brutal form of race-based slavery, invented, your words, by white people. This helped build the wealth that this country now enjoys. And there are a number of people who don't want to face this reality.
Millions of them, all white, by the way.